I know y'all love the draft like I love the draft. That's why you're probably clicking on the video. So I'm going to give you my full 7-round mock draft, and to make it easy to digest so you can kind of check out how I drafted for your team, I separated into draft classes. So we're going to go over the team and who they selected, making it easy on y'all. You're welcome. What's crack-lacking? It's your boy Broshmo. Just in case you did not know, so go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the video. It really helps the channel out a ton, so I really encourage you to do that. As a matter of fact, you get this video to 1,000 likes, we're gonna have a 2022 NFL mock draft, because I know if you like me, if you're a draft geek like I am, you're gonna love that. Go ahead and check out the Flick Sports app. We're trying to get to 100 members on that. The link's in the description below. It's the Never Too Early draft group. We talk anywhere between draft and really sports stuff in general. So help me out there and do that. Also, just quick little, I guess, reminder. Not even a reminder. Basically, we don't have compensatory picks in this, all right? Those are hard to project right now, so we just went with what the draft order is currently. I took it from Tankathon, so if you want to check that out, go to their site. You can Google it. They have the draft order. I did include kickers, punters, or special team players. Since we don't have the compensatory picks, I mean, I felt like, hey, let's just kind of jam as many skill position, offensive line. Let's just jam as many prospects as we can into this, and those guys kind of make up maybe 10 of the total, like 250 some picks in the draft anyway. So we'll get to them eventually, probably closer to the end of the year, but let's go ahead. Let's dive in. We're going to start with the Arizona Cardinals. We got them a corner in the first round with Campbell. I really thought they needed to replace. They really need help at the center position. I don't think they've been really able to get it right thus far. And I think Drake Jackson's probably the best player in terms of that. They get some edge help, especially with Chandler Jones going down. Quincy Roche, he kind of like, he's just phenomenal as a pass rusher. Zamir White, more of a luxury pick. He was kind of falling out boards. And then they grabbed some interior line help there with Lorenzo Neal, one of the better true nose tackles in this class. Then the Atlanta Falcons, I think they did very well. Getting Fairley was very solid, but Dylan Moses falling in there in the second round, I think it was just too much for me to pass up. I think the Falcons have a really good linebacking core, but like I said, the value was there. And then we got the homie out of Georgia who's been put on a show. I honestly don't think he's going to come out till 2022, but in this scenario, he is here, so we go ahead and grab some edge help because the Falcons have kind of been let down by the pass rush from the edge. And then Journey Brown here, I mean, Gurley ain't going to be there forever. He might not even be there after this year. And Brian Hill ain't it. Journey Brown, yes, there's a bit of medical concerns. We won't know more about that till probably the combine, but the guy has huge athletic upside. Israel Mkwamu, I see him more of as a safety, but I mean, just adding more help to the secondary does not hurt. Getting Daz Newsome, probably one of the better slot corners slot receivers in this draft, I thought was pretty big. He's also a very good vertical threat. He's very good after the catch. And then Tanner Morgan, let's go ahead and spend a late round pick on a quarterback. And then on to the Ravens, Carlos Basham. He was the first pick, more of a luxury pick. Then we got Diamador Lenoir, another guy that I think can play safety. And I mean, ever since Earl Thomas left, I mean, they like to play a lot of safeties on the field. So I think grabbing Diamador Lenoir, who can do a bit of both corner and safety, it's kind of clutch. Sage Surratt ended up falling to us in the fourth, so I grabbed him. There isn't, like, you got Willie Snead kind of as the possession receiver there, but he's kind of got a little bit of big play upside. But I think they get a true possession receiver in Sage Surratt. And then we grabbed some more depth at tight end with Hendershot. He's a bit of a there's some character concerns there, so I mean it's kind of a long shot. He might even go undrafted. And then Sam Ellinger, because I'm tired of the Trace Sorley memes. Moving on. Buffalo Bills, they went ahead, they filled in the left guard position with Trey Smith, and then we got Roger McCreary to add just some depth. in the at the corner position there, and then we actually grabbed a couple of linebackers as well, because injuries at the linebacker position been kind of prevalent for the Bills this season. But Cameron McGrone I thought was a solid pick in the third, especially at the end of the third. And then KJ Britt's just a guy that's kind of good. He's going to be a 2-down guy that is primarily just a run defender. But Charlie Collier, I thought was a pretty good steal with how late we got him. So a guy that can compete with was Dawson Knox and Tyler Croft. And then Zion Johnson, a guy that I think he's currently playing tackle and struggling at Boston College. I don't think that's his position in the NFL. I think he's going to be a guard. So we just grabbed more guard help for them. And the Carolina Panthers, they got a big steal in the form of Parsons in the first round. But now we finally address that offensive line. We actually did it with a bunch of Notre Dame guys. First one being not a Notre Dame guy, Walker Little, a guy that I really wished didn't opt out, really want to see more from him, but they could really use the help at tackle, so we grabbed him. Aaron Banks, we grabbed Tommy Kramer as well late in the draft to help on the interior there. And then we also grabbed some competition for Ian Thomas at the tight end position. Hunter Long, he's been just very, very good this season. Zachary Carter, I think, just add some depth to the interior, a guy that also can you can put on the outside, because I mean he just has versatility like that. Coney Durr, though, I think is a bit of a steal. I think he's definitely going to be climbing up draft boards. Him and his teammate there at Minnesota, they've played very well this season. So Coney Durr, kind of a bit of a steal. I've been talking about this guy since 2018. And then the Chicago Bears, they of course got Kyle Trask, but who did they match him up with? Well, with the unsure future of Allen Robinson, we got Amon-Ra St. Brown at 50, which I think is a steal, as well as Darius Washington. I thought was a bit of a steal in the secondary, a guy that I think would pair very well with Eddie Jackson. And then we grabbed some offensive line help to finish off the draft. They only have 5 picks here, with Heron being a guy that has he's got the athletic and physical upside to play at tackle. He just really hasn't done that at BYU. They mainly play him around the guard position. And then we also got Lindstrom out of Boston College, one of the more athletic guards, or centers, excuse me, in this draft, because I mean Whitehair, man, he's been really struggling this season. Then we got the Cincinnati Bayou Bengals. They got Cosme. I thought it was a good fit there. We continue to address the offensive line with Elijah Vera Tucker, who I think is a very, very, very good. And then we went interior, Levi Ozariki, kind of really just value at that point in the draft. I mean, he was kind of falling, and I was like, this guy's got very good upside. Elijah Molden, I thought was a very good pick. I know they got Alexander there, but it doesn't hurt to bring in competition. Richard LeConte was a very good value as well, which, I mean, you're going to kind of see that I like to draft not necessarily for need, but for value. Just give me the best players. Cameron Bynum out of Cal, I think is going to be a bit of a dark horse in this draft. So just add more corner help. Patrick Johnson, adding some more depth at the edge, especially with the recent trade of Carlos Dunlap. And then Quentin Morris, again, another guy that I think got tremendous athletic upside for the tight end position. He just doesn't play in a conference that's very talented. And then we got Cleveland Browns here, and of course they got our boy Jeremiah Owusu in the first round. And then we get that receiver that I was talking about in the other video, Tamarian Terry. If y'all ain't new to the channel, you know I'm in love with Tamarian Terry. I think he's got top 15, top 10 upside. We just haven't really seen it yet. I mean, we've seen flashes, but so far in 2020, it's been a bit inconsistent. So grabbing him with potentially Odell being gone, and then Joe Tryon, I thought another guy with the athletic upside to kind of be the hunter to Garrett, who would be the Griffin in Stefanski's scheme. And then Caden Stearns is just another guy with huge physical and athletic upside that just hasn't really produced at Texas. But grabbing him here, kind of, I don't mind taking shots on guys like that. Deontay Brown kind of just helps give some depth there at guard. Jonathan Marshall gives some depth there at basically the nose tackle position. Because, I mean, Billings, he was supposed to be there. He opted out. And so grabbing him here. And then here's the other Minnesota corner I was talking about. Benjamin St. I can't pronounce. I'm not even going to try to butcher that man's last name. But he's been a stud. This guy, he's a bit of an older prospect. I think he's about 23. But again, I don't mind adding just talent. Max Borghi, I know they don't really need a running back, but he's not really. He's more of a slot guy. I think this is a guy that you could probably transition to a slot receiver. But he also gives you some value in the backfield. And then Reggie Robertson Jr., if he didn't go down for the injury, he would go much higher than this. So I think this is exceptional value. But first, remember, get this video to 1,000 likes along with the other draft video. I'm going to get you that 2022 NFL mock draft out for you. Just because I'm such a nice guy. Also, check out the Flick Sports app. Let's get that sucker to 100 members on there. It's basically just sports Discord. The link's in the description below. I do a lot of chatting on there, because I like to run my mouth. So check that out. And then Dallas Cowboys, of course, we moved on from Dak, despite the picture. We moved on from Dak with Trey Lance, but we got great value with Shaun Wade at 38, a guy that could play safety, could also play corner. I know he kind of got toasted, but I mean, there's still hopes. I mean, it's just one game. There's still hope he can play on the outside. Worst case scenario, he's a slot box type of guy. And then Rashawn Slater there, just grabbing more help for the offensive line. This is a guy that can play tackle. He might translate better to guard. So great value. Jalen Twyman ended up falling quite a bit in this draft. So they get some help in the interior because Lord knows they need it. And then we just continue to hammer secondary. Devin Taylor is a guy that I think has some very intriguing upside. And then Bubba Bolden, I don't think he's going to end up coming out. But even if he finishes the rest of this season very well, I don't see him being a highly sought out prospect just because we've only seen he'd be a one season wonder essentially. So I think he'll be coming out of the 2022 NFL draft. And then the Denver Broncos, of course, we got Patrick Surtain, and then we grabbed a nice, beautiful coverage linebacker in Surratt. We got a very good offensive tackle there in Larry Borum out of Missouri, who's having a phenomenal season thus far. Then just grabbing some help on the offensive and defensive interior. Jordan Davis, one of the best run stoppers in this class. And then Trey Hill, who's been very consistent at center since taking over in 2019. I mean, it was more so the second half of his 2019 really put his name on the map. He's been very consistent this year. Seth Williams, I mean, if you find yourself Cortland Sutton going down again, Seth Williams, he doesn't have nearly the upside of Sutton, but he is a big supposedly contested catch type of receiver there. Jamar Watson just, gives you some depth on the edge. And then Shane Buechele, dude, out of SMU. I think this is a good pick just in case, Drew Lock ever craps the bed. Detroit Lions, they went Christian Barmore, and then we started doing some good things. Chris Olave, I thought is a very solid pick, especially if they can't get a deal done with Galladay. Actually, I'm fairly confident they haven't given him that yet, right? Okay, good. I was about to say I don't want to spread misinformation. Xavier Collins, very good. He's been putting on a show there for Tulsa, and I think he's a guy that can definitely take over that Jamie Collins role. Who he's struggling a bit to get any pressure, and even worse, he's really bad in coverage right now. I think Collins is a guy that could potentially do it better. And then we got Melfanu. His brother, he played in the NFL. This is a guy that can play safety. He's primarily played corner. at Syracuse, but I think he has the ability to play safety, so you get a versatile guy there. And then Kingsley out of South Carolina as an edge with a bit of upside. He's produced very well the last 2 seasons in the SEC, so just add in more depth to that edge rushing group there in Detroit. And then the Green Bay Packers, they got Bolton because they needed depth at linebacker. Then we got Aiden Hutchinson. He has edge listed here, but he could also play on the line. He's more of a he's not an edge bender, but he controls the line of scrimmage, so he's going to be good for that run defense that has yet to appear for the Packers. Nico Collins, they finally go and grab a receiver. I think Nico Collins is a bit more similar to Devontae Adams than you would say like the other speedsters on the Packers. So I like that. Brady Christensen, I thought was a very good pick here. Just in case, they need some help at offensive tackle eventually. Robert Cooper, a very good run stopper, so of course that's why I took him. Baron Browning, just grab more linebacker help. And then Stevenson, I think could be a good maybe practice squad special teams guy there. And then the Houston Texans, they didn't get to draft until the 68th pick, but I think we did a fairly solid job. Reverend Jordan at tight end gives them some upside there. Monty Rice, the linebacker position has been very bad for the Texans this season, so Monty Rice, I think, gives you some competition there. The corner position could definitely be upgraded. Robert Rochelle is a guy with huge upside. Darian Kinyard is a guy currently playing tackle, but he can switch to the interior, so just grabbing some depth and versatility for the offensive line. I couldn't pass on Kadarius Toney out of Florida. Like, we got to this pick, and I was like, there's no way. Like, he shouldn't be falling this far. So we grabbed just a potential playmaker there in the slot if you get tired of Randall Cobb. Elijah Mitchell, just some depth there, running back. And then Sanders is a guy that's been playing very, very well at edge. And then his teammate, I believe it's Ponders. That's a guy you can maybe expect to start making a name for himself in some of these mock drafts. And then the Colts, of course, they got to Devontae Smith, and I couldn't pass on an edge rusher. Brendan Cox is a guy I'm extremely high on. I think he could be a first pick in 2022, but this is a guy he does a good job. He's not necessarily a special athlete, but he does a great job of bending the edge. So they get a pass rusher there. Rondarius Williams, some depth at corner, just in case they don't. Can't imagine them not bringing back Xavier Rhodes after the season he's had, but just in case. Dylan Runduns, I know I butchered that last name, but I know a lot of people are really high on him. They think he could sneak in the first round. I think I need to see a Senior Bowl first, because keep in mind this guy has not faced great competition. And I mean, look what happened. Even Ben Bartch, he had a great Senior Bowl, and he still wasn't taken until I think like the 4th or 5th round. And then Eric Burrow, just some depth in the secondary. Because, I mean, you get later in the draft, and you're just kind of you're trying to draft the best player available or get some depth here and there. I really like Smith Marcette here. He had a really rough couple of weeks for Iowa to start the season, but he is, if anything, he's one of the best special teams and slot guys in this draft. So best case scenario, he maybe takes over for Paris Campbell, or I think worst case scenario, you got a very good return man. And then Cole Van Lanen, just grab some more depth, just preparing for the eventual Anthony Costanzo departure. And then the Jaguars, we didn't get a quarterback to replace Uncle Rico just yet, but we eventually did get one. We got Sewell, we got Kendrick in the first round. I grabbed a weapon at tight end and Pat Freiermuth, and then I was like, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's just jump the gun now. We grabbed Jamie Newman out of Georgia. We're grabbing him. He's our second round pick, so it doesn't mean he's the answer. He's gonna have an opportunity, but it doesn't mean he's the answer by any means. Jackson Carman, I thought was a very good steal there. A guy that potentially could play guard, but I think you still give him a shot at tackle. Dimukiji is a guy that's been performing very well at Duke this season, outperforming his teammate Chris Rumpf, who I think is going to come out in 2022. but they need help at edge. They can't get pressure outside of Josh Allen. Josh Joby was, I thought, a phenomenal steal at this point. So they grab a slot corner because DJ Hayden, he was struggling with injury this year. They tried to put Herndon there. It really was a disaster. So we grabbed Joby. Darius Stills is good depth. DJ Carter is good depth. Reed Blankenship is good depth. And actually, we did grab the other tackle out of North Dakota State. I think it's Vordell. A guy who's really just going to be a depth, maybe a practice squad guy. And then the Kansas City Chiefs, of course, the controversial pick, Rondale Moore, the rich get richer. We got Aleem McNeil to help on the defensive interior, give Chris Jones just some assistance there. And then the rich get richer here. Kenny Yeboah, a guy who is more like a big receiver than an actual tight end, but it just adds another weapon especially behind Kelsey. And then we grabbed Aaron Robinson, a guy who could play on the outside, but he's probably going to be a slot corner when it's all said and done. And he's had a phenomenal year. Shaka Toney, I thought, was a very good pick out of Penn State. A guy not necessarily with the physical upside you'd like to see, but the production's there. Eccles, just more corner help, potential guys to develop. Morsi, nothing too extraordinary about him. He's more going to be a depth guy on the offensive interior. And then the Los Angeles Chargers, we got Waddle. I know. I love weapons. What can I say? But we ended up grabbing Marvin Wilson, a guy that can maybe eventually replace Joseph or Tillery. James Empey there at center, I think, could be great value. We got Paulson Adebo, to just a guy that kind of fits the scheme there, especially in the 4th round. It is what it is. Tyreek Smith, just adding some depth there on the defensive line. We continue to add to the secondary, especially after the departure of Desmond King. We grabbed Jermaine Waller, Alaric Jackson, a guy, I know it's lists him as a tackle. The guy's probably going to end up playing guard in the NFL, but give him a shot at tackle and see what happens. Garawalo, a guy that can play linebacker. He could probably also go back to safety, which was his natural position, but we'll see. I for the most part, I really like this draft. I think there's a lot of guys with a lot of good upside for the Chargers here. And then we go to the Rams. They only have 4 picks thus far, but I thought we did the best we could do with them. Creed Humphrey falling to us. I think the guy that a lot of people think could go in the 1st round. I'm not that high on Humphrey compared to other people because I think he's going to transition to guard. So, I mean, if you haven't seen my offensive interior video, I kind of go into all that there, so check that out. But we grab him to eventually just to be some depth, if not eventually be a starter there at guard or center. Gabriel Cox, because they need linebacker help like no other. We grabbed a pass rusher in Rashid Jr., a guy who's a bit undersized, but he could be a very good situational pass rusher. And then Nick Bonito, another guy who he can play linebacker, but more so he's a blitzer for Oklahoma. So another guy that could potentially come off the edge there. And remember, before this video ends, go ahead, become a bro, and subscribe and leave that thumbs up. We get this video to 1,000, you'll get that 2022 NFL mock draft. Also, don't forget to leave a comment below. And if you let's talk about how you think I drafted for your team. I know not all of it's going to be positive, but it is what it is. And then I almost called them Oakland Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. We got Kwity Paye in the 1st round because they need help at pass rush. But then we grabbed Ben Cleveland in the 2nd because he's just a guy that Richie Incognito is not going to be around forever. And Ben Cleveland is your immediate plug and play. He reminds me a lot of Richie Incognito. And then Jermaine Sherwood out of Auburn, a guy with a lot bigger upside than Abram. Really any of the safeties they have there. I think this is probably the guy that they were hoping Jonathan Abram could be. Sherwood is. Then Michael Carter, just some depth at running back. Kerry Vincent Jr. I know they kind of already got slot guys there, but I think Vincent Jr.'s got enough good upside to kind of be a good dime package dude, I guess. And then Derek King out of Miami. I think he's more going to be a gadget player, and a lot of NFL teams kind of going the way they're like, oh, we want to find our Taysom Hill, so Keen is there. And then Mustafa Johnson, just some depth on the interior for the Raiders. Then my Miami Dolphins, how did we do? I thought we did very well. We got Jamar Chase, Gregory Rousseau in the first round, big steals. We ended up snagging Javon Holland. I mean, and I like this guy a ton. I know a lot of teams will probably be down on him because they don't think he's physical enough, but if he's going to be my deep safety, I really don't care. The guy's going to just be a playmaker, a ball hawk. And then we got Chuba Hubbard out of Oklahoma State at running back, because Myles Gaskin, you've done a fine job, but let's get a guy let's just get a 1-2 punch. And then Tutu Atwell, just another guy that I think could line up in the slot and just be a very fun gadget player. Jalen Mayfield was falling, so I grab him. His natural position is right tackle, so we can bump Robert Hunt into guard, which is a position I think he should have been at anyway. And then maybe Mayfield could be our right tackle. Amari Rodgers is an interesting guy that's got running back size, but he plays receiver, so he could be kind of like a Lynn Bowden in this case. And then Ernest Brown is just, he's an edge, but he's like 275. A guy that can play on the line. It's done very well there for the Wildcats. Then the Minnesota Vikings, Wyatt Davis, of course, was the first pick there. Then we got Kobe Harvell-Peel, a guy I'm very high on, to be a potential maybe replacement for a Harrison Smith or an Anthony Harris. And then we got Falele out of Minnesota, a guy that a lot of people think I'm sleeping on, but I just want to see a second year. I want to see him develop. I love the size and I love the athleticism for the size. But again, we've only seen 1 year of production, and even that, there was some notable things he needed to work on. So we grab him. Tylan Wallace, because I mean the receiver depth is pretty trash for the Vikings. Kenny Pickett, though, I thought is a very good pick to one day maybe usurp Kirk Cousins. Trey Sermon, just grab some running back depth. Slayton, some defensive interior depth. Kyle Rudolph can't play forever, so we grabbed Jack Ferguson. And then Pete Weiner to add some linebacker depth. But for the most part, I really like the upside of this draft, because I can honestly see the first, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I can see the first 6 guys being potential starters. And the New England Patriots, we grabbed Kyle Pitts. Patriots are very hard to predict what they may or may not do, but we grabbed Pitts. We grabbed Andre Sisco to be the eventual replacement for McCourty. And then Kenneth Gainwell, kind of a weapon, kind of a James White-esque back. And then we grabbed Kellen Mond. The guy's put up very good statistics this year. There are still the definite concerns about Kellen Mond, his accuracy. But there's no doubt the guy's got a very good arm. Peyton Turner is a guy that can really play on the line. He's about 270, 6'4", 270. So Bill Belichick, he loves that type of versatility on his line. We grabbed some more speed at receiver with Darden out of North Texas. Grabbed some linebacker depth. And then Demetric Fulton is another guy that might end up being a slot player, but he's got great speed. He's got great return skills. So he's listed as a running back, but I think he might end up being more slot to / return man there. So kind of a gadgety player there. And then the Saints, they only had 5 picks, but we did the best we could. Jace Horn was a guy that we really need to add some competition, I think, to the corner position. Najee Harris, more of a luxury pick. Get Latavius Murray out there. You've done a fine job, but you ain't Najee Harris. So that is a scary combo with Alvin Kamara. Elijah Moore is probably the best slot receiver in this draft. So we go ahead and we snag him. Desmond Ridder, I'm not saying this guy's the heir apparent to Drew Brees, but there is some upside. He could maybe even be a Taysom Hill-like guy. And then Warren Jackson is actually the complete opposite of Elijah Moore and what we drafted earlier. The guy has got a lot of size. He's very good at the contested catch. So he gives you a 50-50 player downfield. Then the New York Giants, we grabbed Fields. So what do we do around him after that? Asante Samuel Jr. to add some help to the corner position. Tyler Linderbaum, he's going to come in and play center because Nick Gates hasn't done well. Jay Tufele, I figured, hey, let's just grab another USC guy to replace Leonard Williams, who is a former USC guy. Charles Snowden was a complete steal this late, a guy that can do a variety of different things. I think Joe Judge will love the versatility there. CJ Verdell, just to add some depth and maybe some competition to be Gurley's backup there. I know they brought in Freeman, but I think Freeman's only on a one-year deal. They got Gallman, who does well in places. They have Lewis, but yeah, let's just add some competition there. Then Charleston Rambo, a guy who's a bit of a speedster down deep downfield, so just adds a little bit of variety, a little bit of spice to that receiving core. Then the New York Jets, let's see what we did with Trevor Lawrence and Rashad Bateman as our first two picks. We grabbed help at tackle with Darisaw. I think he'd come in and immediately play right tackle there for the Jets. They need help on that offensive line. They spent a lot of money for it to be good, and it ain't good. Javonte Williams is another guy that I think could end up being a first rounder in 2022. I'm very high on him. He's got size that translates, and he's just a broken tackle machine currently. And let's be honest about the Jets. They have Frank Gore. So Christian Holmes, one of the best press man, I think, pure press man corners in this draft in terms of maybe guys that'll be in day 3. So we snagged him before that. We grabbed him in the third. Was it third? Yeah, it was third. And then Josh Myers, just help on the interior. He could play guard. He could play center. Thomas Graham Jr. is a guy that could play in the slot. He could play safety. Trey Walker, just add some more competition to that receiving core. And then, of course, we grabbed another running back because there's not good depth for the Jets at running back. So I think we did a pretty solid job for the Jets. This is a very bright future, I think. A good draft class. And then the Philadelphia Eagles, we grabbed Alex Leatherwood to help protect Wentz so he doesn't have that trauma of, getting pressured. Rashad Weaver was around, and I think he provided, because Derek Barnett, since his rookie season, he really hasn't been, has elevated his play, I think. So grab a guy with a similar skill set and see if you could get maybe who you thought Derek Barnett would be. And then we add some depth at linebacker, Jake Sanborn. Not necessarily, he's not going to be a good run stopper, but you kind of already got that with TJ Edwards. So Sanborn definitely very good in coverage. Luke Farrell at tight end because Zach Ertz kind of feels like he's on the way out. Grabbing depth at corner with AJ Blades. Puka Williams Jr., more of a luxury, I guess. We went with value. He does have the character concerns. I think that it's all the way back in 2018. That's in the past, so I'm kind of like whatever about that. So this is a guy that I feel like can be an upgrade from Boston Scott. And then Marcelino, oh gosh. Ball, bam, there we go. Ball out of Indiana. He's a box guy that can maybe even convert to linebacker. So we did kind of address the linebacker position. Actually, we totally addressed the linebacker position. Then the Pittsburgh Steelers. Honestly, this feels like a Pittsburgh Steelers draft. How I laid it out. Mo Rig. We ended up snagging Brock Purdy. I currently have a 3rd round grade on him. I think he's going to end up coming back in 2022. But we snagged him right before the 3rd round with the last pick of the 2nd. Kobe Whiteside, I think has a ton of upside. I mean, Tyson, was it Alu? He's overperforming. So you gotta wait. This is a guy that he's 30. You gotta think that the decline is coming eventually. So we grab Whiteside, a guy that could eventually replace him. Fatu Kasi, his brother's actually in the NFL, but this guy's been phenomenal for Rutgers. He can play coverage. He's very good. It's also against the run game. I think he's very underrated. A guy that could definitely rise his stock. Miles Jones, just getting depth at corner, is a guy with some good upside. Tony Pauljean out of Virginia. He's by no means ever going to be a blocker, but he's more of a tight end 2. Then Master Teague, you kind of get a hammer here for at running back. This guy kind of like a Benny Snell, but I think way more physical. Very explosive. This guy is destined to be a red zone back. And then the Seattle Seahawks, they only have 4 picks, so I tried Patrick Jones a second, just getting some help there at edge. He's one of the smarter players in here. Very good technique, very good hand usage. And then we went with Spencer Brown, a guy with huge upside. This guy physically and athletically is a monster. So maybe got a future right tackle there. Jacoby Stevens, I think honestly is going to end up being a linebacker here, so why I ended up snagging him. And then Jones was just some depth on the interior, so not much to say about the Seahawk draft. And then the 49ers, I know it's very controversial that I got Travis Etienne. I couldn't help myself. I saw it, I wanted it, I did it. So we grabbed some corner help in the second round with Eric Stokes out of Georgia. I think he's very underrated sometimes because more people are talking about Tyson Campbell, but Stokes is just as good. Mac Jones, we ended up like pulling the trigger. This guy is a Kyle Shanahan quarterback if I ever saw one. Doesn't necessarily have the arm strength, but he's not afraid to take shots downfield. So I think this is a guy that's eventual, maybe a good backup, maybe a good eventual replacement for Garoppolo. And then Cedarius Hutcherson, just some depth on the interior. We did the same with the defensive interior with Ray. Grab some depth at linebacker with Robertson, James Wiggins, just some more depth. This guy, he's more of a slot guy. And then we just grabbed an absolute speedster in Anthony Schwartz. I think he could eventually also be a very good return man. And then the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we got Osai in the first round, so let's see how we did for the rest of the draft. I'm not gonna lie to you, a lot of this we went value with the Bucks. I was just taking best player available left and right. So we got Nazir Ildeen, who's probably gonna end up being a linebacker at the next level. Khalil Herbert, because I don't think Fournette's gonna be there after this season, so we get a very Fournette-like back. Richie Grant, we didn't need the help at safety, but he was just it was just too tough to pass up. That was just a very good value there. Malik Heron, he's kind of like an Anthony Nelson-esque player, so you're grabbing some depth at, I guess, the run, stop, and edge position. We grabbed a receiver. I know Brown out of North Carolina is just a sick vertical threat. Matter of fact, this isn't Lorenzo Neal, actually. It's supposed to be Corey Durden out of Florida State. I just kind of goofed that, so that's on me. But Durden got kind of like a bullet in China shop. Great upside. I think he's definitely going to return in 2022. But just grab some help on the interior there. Tennessee Titans. I thought they had a very, very good draft. We got Owe to help on the edge. We ended up actually also getting Xavier Thomas, a guy that could probably play on the line as well. But Leon Enchenberg kind of come in there and be what I guess they wanted from Isaiah Wilson to eventually usurp Dennis Kelly. But I think Enchenberg is a better option. Tyler Shelvin to come in and be a potential placement at nose tackle when they need it. Frank Darby is just sick value there. Kylan Hill gives you a true pass catching back there. And then Avery Thomas just kind of fits the scheme, so snagged him. And then finally with the Washington football team, I thought we did very good. We ended up getting Terrace Marshall Jr. in the second to go with Terry McLaurin or Zach Wilson. We also grabbed some offensive tackle help with Abraham Lucas, one of the most battle-tested tackles in terms of true pass sets. We got Paris Ford, who I think was a very good steal here. Couldn't really pass up on him. Jack Anderson, I think, can eventually be a starter. I mean, could almost probably be a starter immediately because Wes Martin is terrible. Jordan Smith is just some good value. I think he can kick inside if you really want him to, but we grabbed him. Khalil Shakir, just more help at receiver. This guy's a very underrated slot receiver for Boise State, and I think he could help add to that position where maybe push was it Steve Sims and Trey Quinn. Is Trey Quinn even still on the team? But Brian Robinson Jr., give them a little bit of a hammer there at running back for with Antonio Gibson as well. But yeah, that's it for the video, man. Went through everything else. Hopefully I didn't butcher too much. If you got questions, let me know in the comment section below. But as always, till next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.